So, welcome, Mark and Janie, to a conversation about the work you've been doing within Portland, Shambhala, and more broadly in Portland about care and conduct and about connecting with other sanghas. So, do you want to say something about just what's the history here?
Yes, Mark, I think, Mark, you initiated much of this process. I think you should start.
Okay. I think just very briefly, we, in our community conversations this spring, we reviewed the recommendations from an olive branch, and within our small care and conduct group, just kind of identified some areas that might be actionable for us locally. There were a number of different initiatives that we could do sort of within our center, including visiting teacher agreements, looking at a mission statement, and there are some others that I'm not popping to mind right now.
A mission statement, or really, we were looking at writing a statement about no harm.
Thank you. Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and
I think
also, kind of a statement saying like we really don't have tolerance
right.
for doing harm and or for prejudice, discrimination, and we're still kind of finalizing that statement. And then we looked into background checks, which is something that we're still kind of grappling with. There's some legal issues involved there. And as Mark said, visiting teacher agreements and also agreements in general for leadership, code and conduct agreement, care and conduct agreement. We also started to develop training for leadership and teachers, and trainings that the whole community could go through together. But then learned that Shambhala International is also working on this. So we're going to let them do as much of the work as they can, and then hopefully be in dialogue with them around that. And then one of the last items that there were two relating to this. We wanted to, we really liked the olive branch's new process for reporting misconduct. And so we reached out to regional Daesung. They're the ones that kind of deal with this process. But right now they're really bogged down with, possibly decades worth of reports and dealing with that. And so we realized that at least for the time being, we might be on our own. And so our backup, well, actually it wasn't a backup because we thought that this was a good idea too, was to reach out to other Buddhist sanghas in Portland and see if they might be interested in collaborating. One of my inspirations for this is that I have a friend in Belgium who is part of a national Buddhist organization, sort of an umbrella organization for all the different Buddhist communities or centers in Belgium. And they have a sort of listening post that's very professional, where people can report any sort of misconduct or abuse. And my friend who works in mental health is on that post, and he told me about it. And so I thought, wow, I wonder if Portland could do this. So then back to you, Mark.
Yeah, so Janie and I visited a number of different booths at the Summers Buddhist Festival in the park and got some contact information. And then this fall sent out invitations to all attend at Janie's place and just have a potluck dinner, which we did, which was marvelous. I think there were 14 of us total in attendance.
I think
13
12.
or 14. 12, okay. And we all dished up and sat around the table and had some wonderful conversation. And then had a more formal discussion. Took some time to introduce ourselves and who was represented. And then just put the question out there, what could we do together? I think that I'll just speak for myself. I was very pleasantly surprised that folks were thinking very much the same sorts of things we were thinking, and were experiencing very much the same sorts of things that we were experiencing in terms of disconnection, abuses of power, sexual misconduct, feeling somewhat adrift in terms of what needed to be done.
Yeah, originally, Mark and I had thought, well, this misconduct stuff, this is a little bit touchy. We want to wait to bring it up until we've really connected and have some rapport with folks. So we didn't even have it on the agenda to bring it up this first meeting. But lo and behold, everybody else was bringing it up and saying that it was kind of a forefront issue, that they were interested. I mean, not everyone. I think Dharma Rain said that they've already done a lot of work on this and offered to share their work. But there was so much interest that we didn't even need to bring it up. Everybody was already on board. And so that's also what our next meeting is going to be about.
Do you think this is a particularly Buddhist issue?
No. It's religious groups, of multiple traditions and denominations. But there was some clarity that among our different Buddhist sanghas, this was one that was, I think, very pertinent now that a certain generation of leadership is starting to kind of pass, and some of the old secrets are starting to be revealed. And also as these different organizations start to really institutionalize and look at their culture and look at what's working and what's not. Yeah. I came away, I was doing notes for the meeting, I came away with sort of 5 broad topic areas that this group was interested in discussing. One was definitely ethics from a Buddhist point of view and addressing harm and abuse of power. Another was organizational support, especially for teachers and leaders that are somewhat isolated, relative to their traditions, which are international but also very widely dispersed. And how could we support each other locally? Also some discussion around social action and inequity and injustice and how to address that. Communication. There was a group that preceded this called Dharma Umbrella in Portland. And a number of folks had strong memories of that and deep connections and wanting to be able to sort of rebuild a more lively kind of network of communication community. And then there was interest in just holding an open space for things to come up, other ways that this question, how might we work together, could generate new ideas and new energy as well.
So one question that comes up for me is whether you, is just the very idea of leaders getting together or versus the idea of sanghas kind of spending time with each other. And, so the idea of, maybe if the leaders are connected, but the sanghas are isolated from each other, does that leave us in the same position that we're struggling with? So many questions come up here, and I guess, so that would be mine. And, I think that maybe in closing, you could, I'd invite you to say, what is the big question that you are holding about going forward?
You want to go, Janie?
I don't have a singular big question. My question is more about, okay, logistically, how do I make the next meeting happen? Which I see folks are on board with. And also in terms of your other question, first off, it was hard to fit everybody, even just a select group of Buddhist leaders, directors. It was hard to fit everyone at the dinner table and certainly fit everyone in my living room. So there's a logistical aspect to this. I almost had said in the email invitation out to cap it at 1 person per group just so that everybody could fit. But I think many of the smaller sanghas do a lot of exchange because they don't have as a big center that they can just go to on a weekly basis. And so I think there are a lot of folks that are attending different sanghas. For example, when I was singing with Dance Mandal, there were people from all different communities that would come there. mean, maybe that's a special case, but
Mhm.
so yeah, I'm rambling a bit. Mark?
I think just, I'll try to be brief. To kind of tackle your question, John, I think that there's a middle ground in terms of what we think of as leaders, where there are people that are involved in their sanghas, both lay and kind of clergy professional, that all make contributions or that have roles. I think my aspiration for this gathering would be to kind of cast a wide net among leaders of all sorts, among all of our sanghas, and to have kind of an open space where we can interact. Now, that may mean we need a bigger space, you know, and it may mean we need to organize a little bit differently, but I've seen other groups that organize along these patterns and get a lot of work done. So I think the more that we're able to do this with leaders, the more that our sanghas in general will find and create opportunities to interact.
Great. So let's
The end
leave
of
it there for the time being. And, you know, we'll share this video and invite anybody who looks at the video to offer their comments on the Portland Shambhala Center blog. Bye.